Hello, I'm Ignace Aleya from toleratedcinematics.com, and today I will be making a tutorial on how to do some water bending kind of effect in Cinema 4D. It's going to be a rough kind of effect because it's going to be really fast made, so it's not really paying too much attention to Hollywood details, but still it's a pretty cool effect. I've made this effect in my ALS challenge nomination. I wanted to be a little bit more original than the rest of the people making their nominations. So I've created something like this.
Okay.
I will show you. It's in Dutch, so don't mind the language.
Ja, oké. Daar.
So yeah, that was the effect. I thought it was pretty cool, pretty original. I wanted to do something different. I know this effect isn't the best quality of waterbending, but still it looks pretty nice. And as you may know, if you're doing the challenge, you only have an amount of time that you haven't made. You have to make the challenge in, and normally you just go out, record yourself, and put a bucket of water with eyes in it over yourself. But I had to create this HGRI map of my environment. I had to film this. Then I had to rotoscope everything because my mom was standing here with a bucket of water in it to throw over myself after I did the animation. So I had to rotoscope it out, and it was like a lot of work. So then I had to jump in Cinema 4D and create my water material. I was trying to experiment a bit because it's been a while since I've been using water, and I had to get back into it. So then I had to find a easier way to use the displacement in the material, because if you're using the displacement in the material itself, it's going to take a long time to render. So I had to use a deformer, and it's been a while since I've been playing around in Cinema 4D, and right now I had a chance, so I had to spend a lot of time making this, but still the effect is it's not a lot of time to make a great effect. If you're going to make a movie, you're not going to spend one day on an effect. You're going to spend a few weeks on an effect. But still, it looks pretty cool, and I will be showing you how to do this. So enough talking. Also, all the money that this tutorial makes is going to ALS. If you know some people that are interested in creating effects like this, share the tutorial around, get it some views, and with the views, with the advertisements, it's going to make money, and all the money is going to ALS. So I'm not going to make any profit of this tutorial, so that's not my goal, as it may say. So, okay, so right here I had rotoscoped myself out. I'm not going to make a tutorial on rotoscoping because else we're going to be busy like an hour just rotoscoping myself out. Search some tutorials on how to do that if you need to. You can also go just out of the frame or do something else. That there's water over here with a cord or something, with a rope, and then just throw it over yourself, or use this for a different kind of a effect that you don't need to do this. But I did it for the ice bucket challenge, so I had to right here I will show you just a second. So here I had to rotoscope this out and throwing water over me like this. So it's kind of stupid if you see it like this, but the results is pretty cool. So yeah, I wanted to be a little bit more original, as I said. So let's get jumped into this and let's get started. So right here I already imported the footage where I rotoscoped myself, so I don't have to spend time on rotoscoping myself. The only thing we have to do here is export this video to an image sequence, because Cinema 4D likes to work with image sequences. It's faster, better, and so on and so on. One thing before we get started, we'll be checking the composition settings. We see it's 24 frames, just remember that, and remember your resolution. I have filmed this in 4K, so just take the exact resolution settings that you have from your video file. And what I also did is change this to frames. You can do this by command clicking here or control clicking here. If I'm going too fast in After Effects for you guys, that means you're not understanding After Effects enough to jump into 3D. I would would prefer, and that you really learn After Effects before you are going to see anything of 3D, because 3D is again an extra thing, and don't take too much immediately. Just get into After Effects first, and then you go to, and so on and so on. So we're going to export this as a JPEG sequence. It doesn't need to be the best quality, so you can set it lower, it doesn't matter, and click OK. I already did that. Just pick a location to save it at, render it out, and that's all you have to do. So once you've done that, jump into Cinema 4D. I already created my project file, so I'm going to create a new one. And here I'm going to import my sequence file. To do that, you just double click over here. You have a material, and you can change that to the sequence. Let's call it sequence. And then you can deselect the specular, go to color, and load a texture, load image. And I'm going to pick the first frame of my rendered and click OK. And I'm not going to put this in a new path location, so no. Then what you want to do is, right now it's just an image. You only imported the one image that I selected. You have to calculate how many files there were following afterwards. So you will be clicking on the texture path over here, and here you have three tabs. On the last tab, animation, just make sure you click on calculate, and also change the movie frame rate to 24 as you've seen in After Effects itself. What I also like to do is change the output settings immediately to what I had in Cinema 4D. You can do that or by going here or just memorizing what you've done. I'm going to use Cinema 4K, so this is Film 4K. I used Cinema, I used Cinema 4K, that's 2021-60 actually. Okay, so that are the resolution settings that I used. Doesn't mean you have to use them. Because yeah, everyone will have a different resolution and frame rate depending on their camera work. So over here, frame rate 24, okay, all frames, and we have to change the frames to the exact frames that we have in After Effects. So that's why I changed the time code to frames, as it's a little bit easier to work with 3D. So click on here to the last frame, you will see it's 744. So change this to 744. Okay, there we go. We're almost ready to start. And the output settings, I'm also going to divide this by 2 because the resolution is way too big to start in 4K. I will just make sure my project is working like I want it to, and then I will output it in 4K. So let's see if we have to do anything else. The settings for saving, we will do that later. So deselect save. And all the rest. I will keep geometry. It's rendering fast, and you don't really see any anti-aliasing, so it doesn't really matter at first. So we have our sequence. Most people would go and import a background. I've tried that. It doesn't seem to work because the background doesn't see. If you have an object with reflection, with transparency, if you have an object with transparency, it's not going to pick the transparency from the background. So the background is more like a guide layer. So you're never going to see the background in your finalized work. Well, you are, but not through transparency apparently. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm just also experimenting with all the things that I know, and I'm searching them for myself. So sometimes I don't know everything, so we can learn from each other. We'll increase the size of our plane just a bit like this. Click on the plane again and change this to +Z. So now it's facing us. We're going to zoom completely into this and create a new camera. Going into the camera by clicking over here, it's going to turn white, and meaning that you're looking through the camera. If you're not, you can just go into perspective. You're seeing your camera over here. If you click in, you jump into the camera view. So now what we want to do is go to the coordinates and change the X and Y to 0. You can keep the Z at what it is and change the rotations also to 0. So now we have our camera looking at the plane. Increase the size of the plane to fit the camera canvas, and once you've done that, you can drop your sequence onto the plane. Click on your material over here and change the projection mode to frontal. Frontal is going to look immediately into the camera. So all the other settings, we're not going to worry about them right now. We only need to worry about frontal. Now there's one more thing. If you are going to render this, it's going to look good at first, but it's going to be a little darker than the original plate. So just go to Cinema 4D tags, composition, compositing tag, and composite background. So once you've done that, we are ready to go. One more thing that you need to create realistic reflections and transparencies is an HDRI map. If you don't know what an HDRI map is, please look it up. It's an environmental spherical map of your environment. So to do that, you can use a fisheye lens and take pictures on a tripod with different exposures, because you need HDR photos. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Take some self-responsibility and just go on, look it up on Google. You're going to memorize it a lot better if you're going to look it up yourself. So HDR and HDRI maps are a must in the visual effects industry. If you don't know what it is, you can't really get started in compositing and realistic 3D environmental putting something in an environment realistically. You will need an HDRI map for sure. For my HDRI map, I made it. I'm not going to explain how I made it. There are tutorials on YouTube that already explain it, so don't start commenting from you're not showing everything. I'm going to show you how to create a realistic water material in Cinema 4D, but if I'm going to have to explain everything step by step about something that is already out there, then I'm going to lose a lot of time and you will be watching a tutorial that is hours long, so that's not what we want, is it? So I've created my HDRI map. We are going to deselect color and specular, click on the luminance, check it on, and load an image. The image that I've created is over here. It's not perfect. I didn't do a complete spherical map, but as I said, it was a quick project. I had to do it in a amount of time, so I am importing this. I was really rushing through this project as I didn't have enough time to do this. I did it with taking my camera on a tripod, putting a mirror ball on a tripod, and then just zooming into the ball so it's completely framed up in my camera canvas, and then taking 3 different exposures: underexposed, normal exposed, and overexposed, and then I'm combining these pictures to an HDR result, which is a lot more colors and information in your image than originally you take with images, and that's a must if you're going to create realistic lighting and reflections in 3D. So please look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. This isn't a tutorial for really beginners. It isn't quite too hard anyway, but well, yeah, just a heads up. So if you have your HDRI, I'm going to rename it to HDRI. If you have that, you can close this down with luminance and then just pick a sky object, put it on the sky object, right click, Cinema 4D tags, compositing tag, and change the composite. No, I'm just going to scene by camera, check it off. Okay, so now we have our scene set up, and now what we have to do is only import a sphere. Excuse me. I'm going to change the frames to the exact amount of frames that we had in After Effects. I'm just going to make sure if I'm correct. Yes, I am. Okay. Now we are going to search in After Effects where we start doing the animation. So right here, I start doing the animation. That's about 305. I will just shorten my time frame to the animation time because we don't have to render anything else. And we are going to put this at the bottom. No, we are going to wait with that. Oh no, we are going to do the animation immediately. So just put it down, just under your canvas, click on create a new keyframe, go to the end of your, well, not the end, just go, okay, so here I'm holding it, on search where I exactly stop. It's kind of playing around a little, so there we go, just checking around. Okay, here I should be holding it. Okay, so at around 352, we're going to create a new keyframe where I'm holding it about there. So I'm just going to render it quickly to see if I'm correct. And oh, okay, so it's different over here. what I'm going to do is make an interactive render section and just lower the resolution way down so we have everything real time. So there we go, doing the animation. Okay, I'm picking it up right here. So I'm going to select my 2 keyframes, move them over. Okay, there we go. So now we have the animation a little bit further into the timeline. So, okay, looks pretty good. I'm going to position this keyframe right over here. Also, I'm going to move it just a little bit to the right and a little bit down. Click a new keyframe. If most of these things are too difficult for you, just start with simpler stuff. It's not quite hard, but if you're not following, or you can ask questions, or just look further into starting with this software. So make just some keyframes. Right here, I'm just putting it up above my head, so I'm going to create when it's right over here. Okay, looks quite good. And then it's going even further above me like this. Okay, I'm going to move it just a bit in the background, and I can see my plane is way too close to the camera, so I'm going to click on my plane, go to coordinates, and move it further into Z space. Then rescale it again. Okay, so now we have some more place to play around. Okay, so I think this should be working quite good. Now what we want to do is go to Window, and we're going to Timeline to make the animation a little bit smoother. So click over here, so we can have the graphical results. Zoom in by holding Alt, right click, then right click and just move around until you have framed it up. Middle mouse is to move around, and right clicking is to do this. Okay, so zoom in, and we're going to make this pretty smooth. So this is looking pretty good. Then we're going to move over here, make it slower, I guess. Move it around just a bit to make your animation quite smooth and nice, like this. Okay, let's see if the animation is working perfectly. I'm going to disable the interactive section. We're going to look at the animation. Okay, so I'm going to delete this keyframe. We don't need it. We're going to immediately go to the last one, and over here we're going to put it even more into Z space like this. Okay, let's see what we have now. I don't like it over here. Maybe a little bit too much keyframes, so I'm going to delete it. A few. I'm going to clean it up a bit. I'm going to Timeline. Okay, looking a lot better. There we go. And let's preview it again. I must say I'm not an expert in animating. It's not my thing. I don't like it. I hate it. Just being honest. Okay. So, made a little mistake there. Okay, so we're going to just keep it like this. Change the, going to the sphere, click on Cinema 4D tags, and click on Vibrate tag. Enable the position and the rotation. The scale, we don't need to change the scale. For the position, we are going to change it to 200 centimeters, like this, and the frequency to 0.5. Let's see if this works. It's maybe just a little bit too much, 0.2. Okay, rotation is way too fast, 0.2, and 30. Okay, and watch it again. As you can see, it's randomized, making some movements. I'm going to change it to 100 instead of 200. just playing around a little. And this looks a lot better. Okay, I don't like it here, and I don't know why it is, because I can't see it in my position. Why? Oh, okay, I see it right now. We're going to delete this one. Perfect. And then we're going to change it like this, because it's stopping a little bit over here. Okay, this will be a lot better. I'm not sure if it's correct, so I'm going to make some render previews just to, or with the interactive section here. Okay, but it's going immediately up. Okay, it's going up as well, so looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to keep it like this. So once you're satisfied with your animation and your vibration tag, we can start making our water material, and it's pretty easy actually. So click a new keyframe by double clicking over here. Double click on your material, change to water, deselect everything, and we're going to add some transparency. Water refraction is really important. This is actually the most important thing about creating water. You will have to change the refraction to 1.33 because the exact number of water refraction and realistic matters is at 1.3330. So well, yeah, this works pretty good in Cinema 4D. You actually have to look at the realistic colors. We're going to change the absorption color to blue, but just 1% of saturation, like this. Then we want to create some reflection, changes to 40, add some Fresnel, also changes to 40. And we're already making this tutorial pretty long. I'm sorry for that. Click on the bump map, going to noise, click on noise, change this to wavy turbulence. There we go, change this to 1000. Okay, octaves like 8, maybe a little bit low clip. Increase the percent a bit. Going back, checking this to 40, and let's see specular. That's the last thing we have to do. Also add a noise texture to change the noise and the specular intensities overall on the material. So 500 maybe, and here I will increase it quite much. Okay, I want more detail in my texture, so I'm going to pick something else. Maybe something like this, but here we don't need to increase this as much. Maybe not even at all. No, I don't like it as it is. Okay, so I like this one. It's pretty good. Okay, let's see what we have if we put this on the sphere. Render this out. Okay, looking pretty good. Actually, this is my water material already. We're going to now make a displacement on the texture, and most people will go over here, click on displacement, click on noise, making the material editable, and add a sub-polygon displacement. Trust me, this is going to take a lot of time to get the exact same result that you can with Displacer Deformer. Just put this in your sphere as a child, click on Displacer, going to shading, choose noise, click on noise, change it to wavy turbulence, and change it to like 500, right, like this, and animation speed like 3, and then go back to object, and you can increase over here everything you want, maybe 20, maybe 50 to just show you the preview, and then we're going to pick quick shading. No, you can see the animation over here, so it's coming up. You can really see, and this is how it looks like. I know it's very choppy. You can increase the sphere segments to 80, and there we go. Now it's a lot smoother, but it's way too much. It was just as an example, so we're going to change to maybe 20, maybe 10. You can pick 20. Looks pretty good actually. And we already have our animation, so it's that easy. So once you have your animation done, one more thing, I'll check if it's necessary to do. click over here, add a global illumination tag, and this is the global illumination for from Cinema 4D R15. So if you have a previous version, you will have to do it in a different manner than this one. Add light mapping 3. So that's all you have to do, and I guess it's all you have to do. Yeah. Okay. Now let's make an exact. Yes. Oh no, not all the frames, of course. And just the current frame. Output current frame. Yeah. Always try to make your previews in the picture viewer, because then you can compare previous renderers to your newer renderers. It's a good habit to do it like this. So over here we can see the render time. Try to memorize this just a bit. Okay, and without, just to see if it's making any difference. It is, and actually it's worse. Okay, so we're just going to keep it like this, because you can see 2 seconds, 21 seconds. So if you don't have HDRI maps and stuff like that, you can do it this way. And it doesn't look too bad actually, so I just checked it out. Doesn't look too bad. And it's going to be a lot faster, 2 seconds to render all these frames. Else you will do it overnight, if you have like 1 minute each frame. 1 minute is quite high actually. Okay, so we have our animation, we have our texture, we have the displacement. We are ready to export this. So going to output, choose all frames, and again put it to your original resolution. Then go to save and save it somewhere. So okay, so I'm going to save it here. I'm going to name my folder render water. Okay, and name it water. Also check on the alpha channel. You can go and choose OpenEXR if you're going to really do some none. Okay, and 24 bits per channel. OpenEXR is you're getting a lot more information, as I said before, for visual effects. It's a great format, especially if you're going to composite as well. Add some multi-passes, you can do all that. It's not really necessary for this, so I'm just going to do the simple ones like specular, reflection, and refraction maybe. Okay, so I'm not going to go further into this. It's pretty easy. Well, it's not. It's something completely different, but it gives you the options to change things later on when you have rendered everything out and you want to change one particular thing like the color or the specular, or you don't want too much reflections. You can do that afterwards, and you don't have to re-render your complete project out. So, okay, we are also going to choose OpenEXR, choose a path to render that. So multi-passes, okay, and multi-passes. So like this, I think that's everything we need right now. Maybe save it as an After Effects file. If you don't have these options, well, if you're not able to import it in After Effects, look it up. It's a quite advanced tutorial. Even though it's not, it's quite advanced. I'm not sure how to explain it elsewhere. So once you're ready to render it out, click on the render to picture viewer, and it's going to save in the location that you have selected over here. Then you have to wait and go drink something or go to sleep. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but once that's done, you just come back and we're going to move further in After Effects. So see you soon. Okay, so I've made a small mistake. Before you export it, you'll have to go to plane and uncheck scene by camera. So I rendered a part out where the background was still in it, and then it's no point of actually using multi-passes and stuff like that, because you have everything on the background. You want to just render out the object separately, so you have a black background, which is actually transparent instead of black. Another thing that I did is I decreased my values to just as close as to Full HD, just because 4K wasn't necessary to render, and my render time was up quite high. Another little mistake that I've made is in multipasses you'll also need a diffuse color. That's actually your color of the water, and maybe a let's see, also depth you can use, but like multipasses is a completely different thing. The only reason why I did this is something that I'm going to show you as soon as we get into After Effects. So once you have rendered out your just your regular object, we're going to continue with this object. Multipasses is just a thing that you do in bigger projects that you actually need your visual effects work to be great. And when a client wants a small change, minor change like color change, less reflections, less specularity, it would come in very handy to save you a lot of time. But for this matter, it doesn't really bother us too much. So if you want to, you can even forget about multipass. We're going to continue with the regular image. I'm just going to show you the basic concept of multipass images in After Effects. So close it down. Once as you've rendered it without the plane being seen by camera, you can jump into After Effects, having your shot where you're going to, and this can be like a meme, lol. Okay, kind of nice pose there. Okay, so you import your footage by going import file, and again you do the same thing. Render water, click on the first one and click OK. So I'm going to import it right over here, going to my 244 frame, and as I said, the animation wasn't done very nicely by me right now, but that is because I spent most of my time now to explaining how to the technique behind it, but I didn't really pay much attention to the animation because it's going to waste too much time. Wish you can do it easily yourself once you're working on your actual project. So I just drag in my water in my project. I have made another mistake, like as you can see over here, the camera was still it was coming a little bit in the camera. So what I've done is I'm going to the position where I'm starting my call to the water, and luckily it doesn't come up right here. So fortunately I could just trim this down because it's starting from here anyway. What you should do is go in Cinema 4D and really pay a lot of attention to your animation. Maybe watch an animation tutorial. I should do that myself because I've not been enough busy with animation. I have a really busy life on work and projects, and I never have time to learn something new myself anymore. Wish I miss a lot, because those are the times where you become a lot better than you are at that moment. But I'm trying to get back to that point where I can learn myself new things, which are very interesting, of course. So as you can see, I'm holding it up here. If you would do this with multipasses, you would have a diffuse that you could import, but like you import reflections, then you would import the refractions, and by scrolling down you will see that it starts over about right here. These are refractions. So I'm going to import these as well. These are all separate sequences that Cinema 4D rendered. And then there's one more that I clicked, specular, and of course I forgot some others, but it's I wasn't really paying much attention, my bad. But what you could do is import these, like putting them on the same position, change this to add or screen. But one important thing in visual effects is normally After Effects would be like this. Okay, I'm going to change it to the regular settings that you should have. That's this, and that's an 8-bit colors range. I'm not going to get too much into detail, but if you're working with 8 bits, you don't have enough information and visual effects requires the most realistic colors and stuff like that. So if you change the bits over here to bits per channel to 32 bits per channel, and you change the workspace to sRGB, by linearizing your workspace, you will get a lot more realistic colors, because the screen that you are working on is not actually a clean image that it's getting you. It's like it's bumping up. It's with curves and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to explain it, but I don't want to waste your time on explaining this. But there are also very interesting tutorials on linearizing workspace, and most of these tutorials are good because to understand linear workflow, you would be better than the most beginners. So I know there are a lot of beginners out there making tutorials and confusing a lot of people because their workflow isn't the correct workflow. But about linear workflow, I have never seen a bad tutorial actually. So all the tutorials are correct that I have seen. Maybe you've seen another one that's complete. That's not the exact explanation. But just right now, let's take care of the effect itself and work in 32 bits per channel linearized workspace. For example, a great explanation is if you would have like fire. I would be able to show it, but I don't have it right now because if you import fire on a black background and you change it to screen, it doesn't look very realistic. If you just change the settings to a linear workspace, you import the fire, set it to screen, it immediately looks into the scene. It looks like it's combined perfectly, and that's something that is very interesting for doing. But okay, so right over here we were explaining the multipasses, and I'm sure I'm confusing a lot of people. I'm sorry for that. Leave your questions in the comments below, and I'll try to respond to them. Or on Facebook, on my Facebook page, you can also ask questions over there. So I'm going to drag the other two also to the bottom, and we are also going to change this to add and change this to this position. And right away you can see that we have like a multipass. Each thing has its own purpose. So I'm going to solo the background, then I'm going to solo specular. So you can see here specular. Then I'm going to do refraction. This should be under the specular, but it doesn't really matter right now. And the reflection. So you can see every layer has its own purpose. And let's say your client says I want less specular, or let's say he wants less refraction. You can lower this down a bit. Transparency, you can do that as well, and change colors and stuff like that. So it's pretty great to have these options. But for now, we are going to work with our original file, which was just this one file, as it's not too important for this kind of projects. Okay, now what I want to do is position it up in your timeline. I've made it a little bit shorter. I didn't do it until the complete end. Doesn't really matter. Here you can see the water falling over me. But yeah, you get the idea. We have the animation. It's going above me. There we go. So water animating. Okay, click on the layer, go to effect, color correction, curves, and with these things we're going to try and match the colors just a bit. So we'll go to a position. I've seen some blacks, and the blacks are quite dark in comparison with my background, in my opinion. So I'm going to raise them just a bit over here. There shouldn't be hard blacks in my water. It's my own choice. And maybe I make it a little bit brighter because the sun was shining right over here. So it should be quite, just see what works. Just try to mess around a bit. Let's do, okay, something like this should do fine. You can see the difference if we shut down the curves, put them back on. I like it better when they're like this. Then you can go to the red channel, mess around with the reds a bit to match everything with the background. But I think everything looks pretty good. Maybe just add a little bit of blue to the water if you want to. Don't overdo it. So else it's gonna look like, yeah, blue liquid, but water isn't actually like this. This is not water, guys. This kinda is. Okay. Another thing that I did is going to the blur and add a fast blur, about 2%, maybe even too much, 1.5, to give, because yeah, you can see my image isn't completely sharp as well, because I take off the sharpness in my camera itself. Add an adjustment layer, and then just go to effects, sharpen, right over here, and add some like 50 to my shot. It's way too much. 35. Let's see the difference. Looks pretty good. Okay. And then another thing I would do is curves. Doesn't really need to be this, like, just do some simple color correction. And you see immediately everything changes quite fast, and that's because we are working in a linear workflow. So you should be careful to not overdo it. Let's see the difference. It's a little bit too blue in my opinion. Okay, just let's take this out. Okay, and then you can add a hue and saturation. Depending on what shot you need, you want, you can add a little bit of color. Not too much, of course. As you can see, a little bit of difference. It gives a little bit more life to the scene. Or if you're going apocalyptic, you can decrease the colors and get something like this. And then even add another adjustment layer, maybe. And add a tritone. Okay, there we go. And here you can do some cool stuff. It's a cool feature to have if you know how to use it. And I haven't been experimenting with this quite much. As my color correction, I do it in a different manner, but this is an easy way to show you just a quick example. Like, let's say 80. You get a little bit more like, yeah, you know. Actually, we didn't need to make a new adjustment layer. We can just add it right over here. And I want a little bit more contrast, so I'm gonna close everything down. Add a contrast. Okay. You should be really careful with what you do. It's even too much in my opinion. Does it even change right now? Most of the times I just do my contrast with the curves, but I don't do much contrast because a lot of times you overdo it quite fast. Like right now, you can see that's not how colors should be looking. Of course, this isn't a color grading tutorial, but I like to have a finished image over here. So okay, we have our water. What we can do next is you can duplicate it, maybe add it just a bit to make it a little bit brighter. Yeah, okay, that's looking pretty cool. Okay, so I think we're there. It's just a matter of just messing around a lot, testing out different results. As I said, I've done this in one day, and in one day you don't have much time to experiment, but I only have one day, the time to make something like this, because I have a lot of other projects going on at the same time, which are more important, unfortunately. But I wanted to do something for ALS, so everything that this tutorial is going to get is going to ALS. So share it around and do if you found it interesting enough. Share it around. If you didn't find it interesting enough, leave a comment why you didn't find it interesting enough. As long as you don't hate too much, just be fair and square, just to the point. Well, yeah, if you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a like, and thanks for watching, and goodbye.